This conference will now be recorded.
Simple linear regression, did we implement it in Python? Did we implement it in Python? Yes. Yes. Then we are going to discuss about multiple linear regression today. Multiple linear regression. So did we discuss about basic assumptions of multiple linear regression? Assumptions? No, right? Okay. So let me just open your multiple linear regression, and I'm going to start with multiple linear regression theory part today. Theory part. Okay. Meanwhile, I'm going to tell you when to implement multiple linear regression. Take down your notes as well as simultaneously. So multiple linear regression. Multiple linear regression. So when do we go for multiple linear regression is when your output variable is, that is your y, is continuous in nature. Remember this point. This is very important. Continuous in nature, and your input variable, that is your x, is more than one input, and it can be either continuous or discrete in nature. Then we are going to implement a technique called as multiple linear regression. Multiple linear regression. So remember, simple linear regression is same as it is, output is continuous but input should be 1. But when it comes to multiple linear regression, your output is y is continuous in nature and your input is x. X is nothing but your input. You should have more than one input. More than one input like x1, x2, x3, x4. It can be more than one. So it can be either continuous or discrete in nature. Then we are going to implement a technique called as multiple linear regression. As the name itself says, multiple, it is nothing but you're having multiple inputs. Multiple inputs. So this is one of the simple case study for your multiple linear regression, multiple regression model I've taken. Just go through this and tell me what is your business objective. It is nothing like difficult here. It is simple as your English sentence. So please try to uh, explain me what is your business objective here.
Hi Yogesh, this is Sanjay.
We need to find the
Yeah.
mileage. Hello.
Yeah, you can go.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, we need to find the mileage of the vehicle which I was seeing there. That is what the interest.
Yes. Yes. So you need to predict your miles per gallon of a vehicle. Objective is to predict your miles per gallon by using what? All other input variables. Volume plus HP plus SP plus weight. These are nothing but your X1, X2. This is your Y. This is your X3 and this is your X4. So we are having how many inputs? 1, 2, 3, 4 inputs. So Ranjini, it is 4 inputs. See, this is your miles per gallon. This is your miles per gallon. This is your output. This is your output. So this is our agenda for solving our multiple linear regression. So before going to your multiple linear regression, there is an important concept called as assumptions. Okay, before coming to this assumptions part, I'm going to tell you this part. So dummy variables, as I told you, that consider that you're having a column called as like this. Assume that you want to predict survey results percentage or something. For example, I'm telling. Okay, you have only one variable which is discrete in nature, agree, disagree, neutral. Agree, disagree, neutral, like this. So you want to convert this into your dummy variable first. Excuse me, sorry. Now, so consider that you're having output as miles per gallon, okay, and your HP. HP is your continuous, like 95.2, 35.5, or 135.2 or something. So this is your continuous, and miles per gallon is 15.5 or 18.1, whatever it is. So this is also continuous, this is also continuous. So your output is what? Output is continuous. And if your input is continuous, you need not have to worry about anything. Directly you can start implementing your linear regression. So you have one more variable called as weight of a vehicle. Weight can also be 1000.5 kg, 950.2 kg, whatever it is. So this is also continuous. You can directly go and implement your technique called as multiple linear. So rather than this, if you are having a column called as like this, miles per gallon you want to predict, and you are having type of car. For example, I'm taking type of car as petrol car, diesel car, CNG car, LPG car. So here you are having HP. Here you are having HP as 55.5, 35.2, 180 point something. And this is also again 15.2, 16.8, whatever it is. This is also continuous. This is also continuous. But this one, your car type is petrol, diesel, CNG, LPG. What it is? What data type it is?
Discrete.
Yes, it is your discrete type. So if you're having your discrete type of input data, then you need to convert the discrete type of data into your dummy variable, because you cannot plot your correlation, right? So that is the reason you need to convert that into your dummy variable. Write down, if your input variables are discrete in nature, you should convert that into your dummy variable. Dummy variable is nothing but creating numerical data, something like 0 and 1. Instead of having your yes, no, true, false, gender, male, female, you are converting that into your 0 and 1. So consider that instead of having agree, disagree, neutral, right? So consider that this is your petrol car, diesel car, CNG car, this is LPG car. Okay, so now, so this is your original data set. You need to create 3 new variables called as dummy variable agree, means how many characteristics we have in your survey data. How many characteristics we have survey data?
Three.
Yes, here we have 3 categories. We need to create
three dummy variables.
3 dummy variables. So we need to create 1, 2, 3 dummy variables as agree, as disagree, as neutral. And wherever there is agree column, for example, this is one column called as HP or something like that. Okay, now, so this one will tell you that it is agree. Wherever there is agree, put that into 1, remaining as 0. Wherever there is disagree, put that column as your disagree as 1, others as 0. And this neutral, wherever there is neutral, put it as 1, remaining put it as 0. This is called as your dummy variable. This is called as your dummy variable. Clear for everyone?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now, So this is your, if your input variable is discrete in nature, you need to create a dummy variable like this. And I'll be showing you, rather than creating dummy variable, you can also do something else. I'll show you that also as a part of your course curriculum. So as of now, just remember that you need to create a dummy variable. That's it. Now, so there is some important concept called as basic assumptions of linear regression. Write down this important interview question. They might ask you like basic assumptions of linear regression, or they might ask you assumptions of linear regression, or they might ask you saying that, hey, what you should keep in point that before implementing multiple linear regression, you should follow some rules. What are those rules? So these are some of the rules I'm going to discuss about that. But generally it is called as your basic assumptions of linear regression. Basic assumptions of linear regression. Now, remember this line, this term called as LINE. So if somebody asks you what is the basic assumptions of linear regression, just remember this word called as line. If you remember this, you'll be able to easily tell these 4 points. I'm going to explain now what are these line stands for. So first line stands for your linearity. Write down this. Linearity is nothing but your L. Independent. Independent is nothing but your I. N is nothing but your normally distributed. Normally distributed. And this is E is nothing but your equally reliable. Equally reliable. Write down these 4 values. Line stands for linearity, independent, normally distributed, and equally reliable. Write down this. Linearity, independent, normally distributed, equally reliable. Can somebody tell me what is your regression equation?
I equal to
Y
beta
Y
naught
equal to
plus
B
beta
naught
1
plus
plus epsilon.
One at a time, please.
Y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1 x into error.
It is not into error, it is plus epsilon.
Plus.
Plus
Bharat.
error. Yeah,
Yes,
plus
don't tell it as into ln. Into error becomes wrong. So that's the reason. So that is your regression equation. Now coming to your multiple regression equation, multiple linear regression equation, it is similar to your simple linear regression. But the thing is, here you are having multiple inputs. You should write it as y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1x plus beta 2x 2 plus beta 3x3 until how many inputs you have? Beta n xn plus epsilon. Write down this. Multiple linear regression equation is nothing but your y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus beta 3 x3 until beta n xn plus epsilon. Now, so this beta naught, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3 are called as what?
Parameters of the model.
Yes, these are called as your parameters, or it is called as your estimates, or one more word, coefficients. Yes, so these are called as your coefficients, parameters, or estimates. So coming to your first word called as line, L-I-N-E. So this is your L. L stands for linearity, as I told you. So when you plot your parameters, linearity about your parameters. So if you plot your beta naught, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3 on your x-axis and your y-axis, it should be linear. Remember that. If you're plotting your parameters on x-axis and y-axis, these parameters should be linear. Note down this point. First point is linearity about your parameters. Linearity about parameters.
How will we plot the parameters in x and y axis?
Yeah, I'll tell you. See, these are called as your assumptions. See, you need not have to prove this. Remember
Okay.
that, Debanshu or Sanjay. Is it Sanjay?
No, Debanshu.
Debanshu. So these are your assumptions. You need not have to prove that. So that is the reason it is called as your basic assumptions of your linear regression. So linear, L stands for linearity. The true model should be linear. That is what. You need not have to prove this. It has already been assumed that beta naught, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3 will be always your, it is following linear.
Linearity. Okay.
Yes, that's it. First point is linearity. Second point is nothing but your I. Independent. You can write it as independent and identical. Independent and identical with respect to errors. With respect to errors. Right wrist. Independent and see independent errors it is. So write it as independent and identical errors. Independent and identical about errors. So simple question. Consider that you are having 100 records. 100 records. How many errors do we have? How many errors do we have? If you have 100 records, how many errors do we have?
No, we can't say, right?
You can say, right, Bharat? You can say. It is simple question.
One
So
error.
consider that. Huh?
One.
See,
Because
consider
we're
that.
getting
Okay.
one epsilon.
1 second. 1 second. Consider that today there are 12 students in my class. 12 participants. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like this, totally 12 students are there. This is my register number. Student 1, student 2, student 3, student 12. So consider that I have given some test. Okay. So after writing your test, I will ask you how much will you predict your result. First one will tell that I'm going to get 95%. Second one will tell 85%. Third one will tell 70%. Fourth one will tell 50%. Sixth one will tell 65%, like this. Okay. But after doing the valuation, I'm going to give your actual result. So I'll give that 85%, 90%, 25%, 35%, 63%, like this. So how many errors do we get now? Come on, tell me.
1.
1. Wrong.
All
All means
100.
what?
12,
Now we are
12,
having
all
only
12.
12 students, right? So the actual result is nothing but your actual value. Error is nothing but your actual value minus predicted value. For first
Predicted
student,
value.
for first student, what will be your actual value? It is 85% minus 95%. So first student will have one error as minus 10%. Second student will have another error. Third student will have another error. Fourth student will have another error. So totally how many records we will have? We will have so many records of errors. Got it? Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes. So that is the reason I asked you this question. Whenever you tell it as how many errors we have, you should assume that how many records we have will be getting so many errors. So coming to that point, so if you Okay, now let me just take three members: Bharat, Debanshu, and Neha. Bharat, Debanshu, and Neha. So Bharat will tell that I'm going to get 95% in my exam. Debanshu will tell that I'm going to get 80% in my exam. Neha is telling that I'm going to get 70% in my exam. So Bharat's result will come around 98%. He will be very happy. Actual result. This is your predicted results. And Debanshu will get 78%. Neha will get 65%. So what is the error of Bharat, Debanshu, and Neha?
3% minus 2% minus 5%.
Yeah,
For Bharat
3%
is
minus
minus 3.
2% minus 5%, right? So this is your error. So now my question is Bharat's error dependent on Debanshu's and Neha's error?
No.
No.
No. No. So is Debanshu's result error is dependent on Bharat and Neha's result error?
No.
No.
No. So always remember that your errors will be independent. Your errors will be independent.
Independent.
Yes. None of them are dependent on each other. Yes.
Sorry for the interruption.
Yes. Yes.
If there are 100 inputs
Records.
are there
100
or
inputs.
inputs are yeah.
See,
Okay.
this is
So
not your input,
blindly we
Bharat.
need to.
One second.
Sorry?
One second. This is not your input, Bharat. This is your output, right? Actual result.
Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
This is your output, right?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay.
You have written 6 subjects exam. For example, you have written P, physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, Kannada, and English. 6 subjects language you have written the exam. The total marks you are going to get something. That is your result. So result will be only one, right?
Yes.
Yes. So this is your
Yes.
output, and this is your predicted output. So like that. That is how I have written. That is what I have written here.
Okay.
So these errors will not be dependent on each other. That is the reason it is called as your errors will be independent. Errors will be independent. It doesn't mean that if Bharat gets 3% error, Debanshu should get 4% error. If Debanshu gets 4% error, it doesn't mean that Neha should get 5% error. There should not be any dependent on your errors. That is the reason it is called as your independent errors. Independent errors.
Yogesh, my question was, you said that if 100 records are there, how many errors can be?
Yes.
So we need to say that if 100 records are there, 100 errors we may get.
Obvious. Yes, 100%. Simple example is 100 students have written exam, 100 records. Each and every student will have one predicted value, one actual value. And if you take the average, even though you might get 0%, see, consider that, for example, Sanjay has written exam and Rakesh has written exam. Sanjay expected that he is going to get 80% and Rakesh expected that he is going to get 83%. Ultimately, if they get same 80% and 83%, error will be 0, right?
Yes.
Yes, even though if he is getting 0 also, that is also been considered as your error. That is also been considered as your error. So if you're having 100 students,
both are same, then what do we need to consider it as error? Or
yes, you need to consider. You need to consider.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now, first point is your errors should be independent, and why I'm telling it as identical in nature means, so each and everyone will not get same errors. Bharat will get 5% error, Neha will get 3% error, Rakesh will get minus 3% error, Imran will get plus 5% error, somebody might get plus 7% error, somebody might get plus 7.7% error, somebody might get 6.3%, 6.6%. So that is the reason there is no relationship, there is no dependency between your errors, and also they are identical in nature. Identical means they are unique to their particular record. Errors are independent and identical in nature. Is it clear? Yes, is it clear for everyone? Independent and identical with respect to your errors. First point is with respect to your linearity is about your what? Linearity is about your parameters. Second point is your independent and identical is about your
Errors.
errors. Third point we are going to discuss, that is about your N, L-I-N. So N is nothing but your normally distributed. Normally distributed. Before going to this line, normally distributed,
Errors.
see, I want to read this. Independent errors. Having information about the value of residual is nothing but your errors are also called as residuals. Write down this point. Errors are also called as residuals. Errors is nothing but your residuals. So having information about one residual will not give you the information about other residuals. Means they both are independent of each other. Means plus 5% will not give you the residual information, error information about your other one. That is the reason it is called as your independent errors. So residuals are nothing but your errors. Residuals are nothing but your errors. Now coming to your N. N stands for normally distributed. Normally distributed. So normally distributed in the sense this is also with respect to your errors.
Distributed.
Yeah, this is also with respect to your errors. So coming to this point, if you plot your errors, consider that you're having 100 students result, 100 errors, 100 errors. If you plot these errors, these should be normal. Normal in the sense it should follow approximately this straight line. Approximately this should follow straight line. So that is called as your errors are normally distributed. See here, errors are distributed normally. Errors are distributed normally. Errors are distributed normally.
Yogesh,
Yes.
we'll be plotting that errors, which you said no that it will be distributed normally.
Yeah, we need see that is the question. That is the question. I can show you about your plotting, but these are your assumptions, Devanshu. I'll show you how to plot it also. I'll show you.
No, no, I was just asking whether it's being plot with respect to X and Y, whether it's
Yes.
with respect to
Yes.
input and output.
No, no, no. With respect to not input and output, it will be only with respect to your errors. For example, this is your first record and this is your error part. This is your error part. If you plot your first record, second record, third record, it will be following approximately normally distributed.
Okay.
This is your x-axis. X-axis will be your number of records. First record, second record, third record error, fourth record until your 100th record error. What will be your error part? That will be normally distributed. Errors are distributed normally.
Similar is the case for
So
parameters
Yogesh,
also.
Yeah, everything. See, this is all about your linearity. Linearity about
Yeah.
your parameters. Yes, somebody
Mhm.
was asking something.
yeah. So Yogesh, over here we are referring to Y, right? Y1, Y2, Y3. When you're talking about errors, it's not epsilon. It's Y1, Y2, Y3, right?
It is not y1, y2, y3. It is your epsilon. Error 1,
Okay.
error 2. Y1 is nothing but your only will be having one output, right? For one record, you'll be having only one output. So for one record, you'll be having only one error. Second record, second error. Third
Got it.
record, third error. Means I'm talking about your errors, not about your Y.
Yeah, got it.
I'm
Got
not
it.
talking about your output. I'm talking about your error. Errors are distributed normally.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay. Now, coming to this point. So homoskedasticity, this is also with respect to your errors. So all residuals are the form of distribution with the same variance. Suppose if you plot your all the errors, it should follow constant variance. It should follow constant variance. Means if you plot your variance, it should be approximately straight line like this. Probably exactly you will not get a straight line like this. You might get something like this. You might get something like this. So your errors should not be like this. If you plot your errors should not have variance like this. It should not have any cyclical trend like this. So that is called as your no constant variance. If your variances are plotted on your error part, that should be approximately constant variance like this. If it is like this, it is called as your no constant variance. So it is called as your heteroskedasticity. Heteroskedasticity. If your errors are not following constant variance, then it is called as your heteroskedasticity. If your errors are following constant variance, then it is called as your homoskedasticity. This will be a 100% interview question if you are putting 1 year experience in your CV, 2 years experience in your CV. Homoskedasticity is nothing but all the residuals forms a distribution with the same variance. Same variance means constant variance. Exactly, you will not get straight line. Sometimes you might get like this. Sometimes you might get like this. Sometimes you might get like this. But you should not get like this. If you get like this, it indicates that it is no constant variance. Then it is called as your heteroskedasticity. If it is constant variance, then it is called as your homoskedasticity. Homoskedasticity. Any questions?
Yogesh, hello.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that is according to this homoscedasticity. That is, if we plot the errors, then they should be should have a constant variance. That is a straight line, right?
Yes. See, that is what I'm telling you. These are the assumptions.
Okay.
You assume that whenever you build your multiple linear regression model,
Yeah.
all this will follow.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Write down this point: homoskedasticity, heteroskedasticity, linearity, independent and identical with respect to errors, and normally distributed. All those things, you please note it down. This will be a 100% interview question. That's the reason I'm stressing so much. Now, the next point is with respect to your E. Equally reliable. This will be with respect to your observations. This will be with respect to your observations and also with respect to your variables. Observations and variables. And there is one more important point I'm going to tell you after this point. Very, very important. Now, equally reliable with respect to your observations. First, we'll talk with respect to observations. So consider that you're having 10 records. So consider this is my age column. Age column. I'm going to write it. Tell me whether it is correct or not. Consider this is your age column. Is it correct data? Is it correct data? Everyone please
No.
respond. Why it is not correct?
No,
Why it is not?
we have
Because we have a non-numeric value.
Yes, this is your non-numeric value. Your age cannot be your XYZ, right? Your age cannot be XYZ. So that's the reason. X, Y, Z. So now you are able to see, because you know that age column, because you are having only 8 to 10 records, you can see that this is your XYZ is not a numerical data. You can easily identify, okay, this was my 4th record which is having non-numerical data. This data is not correct. Consider that you are having 1 million records in your Excel. 1 million records like this. Somewhere after your 50,514th record is like this, XYZ. Your age column is there and you're having 10 lakh records. 10 lakh records. But this 50,514th record is XYZ. Will you be able to identify this?
No.
No. Why? Because you cannot go each
Manually.
and every line and you cannot see, right? Only we'll decide on column name. So we assume that, okay, each and every columns will have, each and every row will have only age, not with respect to XYZ. So that is what is your all the observations should be equally reliable. Means if you're talking with respect to column called as age, you assume that whether this column will have 1 million records or 10 million records, you assume that this column will only be having age data. And you're having something called as name. Your all 1 million records will have name, which will not have anything called as age, right? So all the input variables, or your what you call it as, is all the observations should be equally reliable. Equally reliable. Yes, got it. With respect to observations, observations are nothing but your records. All the records should be equally reliable, in the sense you should see the column name and you should assume that, okay, this particular column will have the name, this particular column will have age, this particular column will have my salary. So you cannot go and see each and every single record, whether it is having salary or whether it is having phone number or whether it is having mobile number, right? So that is the reason you should have equally reliable data. That is your E, equally reliable data. And very important topic is the first one, no multicollinearity, and your second one is all relevant predicted variables included. For example, you want to predict something, you want to predict your miles per gallon of a vehicle. For this you need your relevant predictors. For example, so I want to calculate mileage of a vehicle. I have HP column, I have MPG column, I have speed, I have weight. Now consider that I'm having one more column called as driver's name, driver's age, driver's age, driver's name. So will this driver's name and driver's age is relevant to predict your miles per gallon?
No.
We can exclude
No.
driver name.
Yes, we cannot use this driver name and driver age, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because your HP, MPG, speed and weight will have impact on your miles per gallon of a vehicle. What will you do after taking this driver's name or who is your co-passenger, all those things? It doesn't make any sense, right? So you
Yes.
should use all the relevant predictors, whichever should be included, not whichever is not relevant. If it is not relevant, you need not have to include it in your analysis. That is your all relevant predictor variables should be included. This point. The very important first point is your no multicollinearity. Very important. Try to understand in an easier way. No multicollinearity. So up to this point, write down all the steps. I'm going to explain you this multicollinearity problem. Once done, please ping me. I'm going to talk about your collinearity problem next. Is it done? Okay. Now, so multicollinearity means your inputs. I'm talking only about your inputs. Now write down this point. Inputs should not be linearly dependent on each other. Dependent on each other. Inputs should not be linearly dependent on each other. I'm talking only about your inputs. Remember that. So consider that you're having y is equal to x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4. So I'm going to plot my x-axis and y-axis as my input 1 and input 2. I'm going to plot two plots. Try to understand. I'm going to plot two plots. Tell me which plot is linearly dependent and which plot is not linearly dependent. See, multicollinearity means input should not be linearly dependent on each other. If they are, write down the steps. If they are linearly dependent on each other, inputs. If they are linearly dependent on each other, then it is called as collinearity problem, or you can call it as multicollinearity problem. Write down this. So input should not be linearly dependent on each other. If they are linearly dependent on each other, then it is called as collinearity problem or multicollinearity problem. Yes, we need to check this. I'll show you how to check this when I implement your multiple linear regression. I'll show you. It's nothing like rocket science. It is simple, but I'll show you how to check it out. You cannot tell that, Ram, because I've seen which are dependent also. I'll show you one real-time case. I'll show you one this case study, right? So with respect to miles per gallon, I'm going to show you that some of your inputs are dependent on each other. I'll tell you. I'll give an example for this. Okay, so now I'm going to plot two plots. Okay, this is x1, this is x2, and this is another x1 and another x2. So this is your picture A, this is your picture B. Now you should tell me that which one is linearly dependent and which one is linearly independent. Now, out of these two, which particular picture A is having collinearity problem or picture B is having collinearity problem? Tell me. Both are inputs. X1 and X2 both are inputs. So everyone, I want everyone to reply this. Reply for this. Which one is having
A.
collinearity problem?
A.
A.
Yeah.
So this is having, they are linearly dependent on each other. Yes, they are linearly dependent on each other. This is called as your collinearity problem.
Or multicollinearity.
Yeah, multicollinearity problem. So this is linearly independent. They are independent of each other. There is no collinearity problem. No collinearity problem. And this is your second input. And this is your one input. Don't consider this as your output. This is not your output. This is also input. And this is also input. So in this one, we don't have correlation. In this, we have correlation. That is called as your, so if your inputs are linearly dependent like this, then it is called as your collinearity problem. If they are independent like this, then it is called as no collinearity problem. No collinearity problem. So with respect to this, I'm going to give you a simple example. Try to understand. It's your common example. Very easy to explain. Now, so consider that there is a quiz competition, and you want to choose 2 participants for this quiz, and it is a team of 2. It is a team of 2. Okay, the quiz competition subject is like this: maths and physics. Maths and physics. Now, Bharat, you want to choose 2 participants. How do you choose 2 participants? The quiz competition is of maths and physics. How do you choose 2? Lahari.
Each of one person, one of maths and one on physics.
Okay.
Who is best in
One-
the subjects with math?
Yeah, one person should be best in mathematics, another person should be good in physics.
Physics.
Okay. Now, so this is your first case. So instead of choosing like this, I am going to choose like this. It is my selection. This person is also good in maths. This person is also good in maths. So which one is better? Whether scenario A is better or B is better?
A is better.
Why it is
A
better?
is better.
Why it is better? Why?
Because we have
It
a
is
two
distributed
combination.
equally.
Combination of both.
Yeah, it is a combination of both. See, if instead of having the second person, this is your x1, this is your x1, this is your x2, this is your x2. So if I have maths and physics, probably I'll be able to get good result in my quiz competition,
Quiz
because
competition.
one person is good in mathematics, another person is good in physics. Suppose I choose mathematics and mathematics as my 2 inputs. Both of them are good in mathematics. Out of 100%, I can only solve how much? 50%.
50%.
But instead of this, maths and physics, I will be able to choose up to 100%, because one person is very strong in physics, another person is very strong in mathematics. So instead of choosing 2 persons who are good in mathematics, I can have only one person to attend this mathematics questions, right? Instead of having 2 mathematics students, I can have only 1 mathematics student, right, to get 50%.
Yes.
Will
Yes.
it make sense? Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
in your real time also, if your inputs are linearly dependent, means if your x1 is also, your x2 is also linearly dependent on each other, rather than using 2 of your input variables, we can use only
One
one
variable.
because achieving result either using 2 variables. Instead of using these 2 variables, you are getting 65%. For example, I'm telling it as this is x1 and x2. If you use these 2 variables, you are going to get 65% as your result. Instead of using 2 variables, if you use only x1, then also you are able to get 65%. Will you use 2 variables or 1 variable?
One variable.
1 variable, right? So this is called as your multi-collinearity problem. If your inputs are linearly dependent on each other, that means that there is a collinearity problem. That means that there is collinearity problem. Got it? Got it, everyone? Please write down this.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, according to you, that is, if inputs there is x, okay, we have some 10. Out of 10, we have some 5 repeated, something like that. And it is, so we can omit the remaining.
You're talking about, I'm talking about your entire column. I'm talking about your x1 column, entire column, x2 entire column. I'm not talking about your records.
Okay, fine.
I'm talking about your x1 column, x2 column. I'm not talking about your records. So that is what you should understand. Variables are different from your observations. Variables means it is columns. Observations means it is your records. Got it? Got it,
Yeah,
Ram?
thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Now, these are your basic assumptions of your linear regression. Remember this point. Line. If you remember line, you should see, especially they will ask you about multicollinearity. What do you mean by this? Or they might ask you about homoskedasticity, or they might ask you about your heteroskedasticity, or specifically they might ask you these 3 questions, or they might ask you about your basic assumptions of linear regression, entire 4 points. That is your linearity, independent and identical in nature, normally distributed, and also about your equally reliable. Either you should remember homoskedasticity, heteroskedasticity, multicollinearity problem. So this is the case study what we are going to discuss for your multiple linear regression. Our interest is to predict the miles per gallon of a vehicle based on your other variables. Based on your other variables. So I'm going to show you the data set today, and I'm going to explain you the data set. After that, we'll be stopping today's class, and in Monday session we are going to implement multiple linear regression, and also that will be in, one will be in R, another will be in your Python, both. After that, these 2 topics, we are going to the next algorithm called as logistic regression. Logistic regression. Here also we'll be having 2 case studies. One is simple logistic regression. I'm going to give you a theoretical concept about this, and I'm going to implement multiple linear regression theory plus practicals in R and Python both. R and Python both. Here it will be only theory because it is same. For the first model, I'm going to show you linear. I'm going to show you simple separately, multiple separately. In your logistic, I'm going to explain theory for simple logistic regression, and also I show you how to do that. But exactly full practical implementation I'll not explain here. And multiple logistic regression, I'm going to give you theoretical concept, and then I'm going to give you practical implementation, including R and Python separately. R and Python separately. Okay, let me just show you the data set today. Until your clustering part, each and every single line of code I'm going to explain you, I'm repeating multiple times. Please concentrate up to clustering. After that, it is your turn to explain me what does this line of code does. So I'm just going to import logistic regression code part, and I'll just show you the data set today. That's it, nothing else. Yeah. So Ram, did you install about that packages for your NIT?
Yeah, I installed, but still I was getting some error. So I'll try it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Uh,
So just go to Google page and type it as what are the basic packages to install or to run your markdown files. To markdown files, you'll be getting some basic list. Install all those packages. I'm going to show you that. See, remember one thing. I markdown file. I think I've shown you this, right? I've shown you this, right? Bharat, Debanshu?
yeah.
Yes. So from your multiple linear regression, instead of typing it using your R Studio, I'm going to use it here R Markdown, so that you'll be learning R Markdown, and also you can access anytime. So just as of now, I'm going to show you the data. I'm just going to show you the data. So I'm going to give here the path. The path I'm going to give you. And if I run this line of code, I'm going to get your data set into your variable called as cars. I'm executing this line of code. See, this is your data set. This is your data set, which is having your HP data, MPG data, volume data, SP data, weight data. So this is your output, and this is your X1, X2, X3, and X4. So you can say that output is continuous in nature, and all others also can be continuous or discrete in nature. This can also be 92.2, 92.00, like this. So this is continuous, 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 this is also continuous. So all other variables are your continuous in output. Then directly we are going to implement a technique called as multiple linear regression. Multiple linear regression. So for any project, for any data science project, whatever the data set you're going to get, you should do first, second, third, fourth moment business decision. It is irrespective of any project. Whether you get a small project or a big project, do this for all of your projects. Mean, median, minimum, maximum, mode, standard deviation, variance. Do all these things for your all the projects, not only 4 projects or something. I'm going to tell it as for all the data science project, you should do all these 4 steps. Irrespective of any project, it might take you hardly 5 minutes. Don't ignore this 5 minutes, because if you ignore this 5 minutes, it is going to kill you at the time of your interview. So that's the reason for these variables, you should do all those things. So rather than doing that separately, I'm going to just use a function called as summary. See, I'm just running this line of code, attach of cars. Every time I don't want to use my cars dollar. So I'm going to execute this attach function, and it will be attached. See, measures of central tendency is your first one. Measures of your dispersion is your second one. And third one is your third moment business decision. Fourth one is your fourth moment business decision. That is your kurtosis. Do this for all your projects, irrespective of whatever the projects you're working. Do all those things. So I'm going to run this summary of cars. See, if I run the summary of cars for all the columns, if you're having 5 columns or 10 columns or 25 columns, whatever it is, it will display summary of all the columns. See, for HP column, what is minimum, what is maximum, what is first quarter, what is third quarter, what is mean, what is median, minimum, first quarter, median, mean, third quarter, max, like this. For each and every column, you're going to get this. So record these values. Take the screenshot of these values. I just gave an example, Ranjini. I just gave an example. If it is like that, what we should do. That's it. Okay, these are nothing but your column names, and for all these column names, this is your record. You should record this. You should take a screenshot of this and you should record it and keep it, because somebody might ask you, hey, what was my minimum HP in my vehicles database, or what is the maximum vehicles in my maximum HP in my vehicles database. So that's the reason you should be able to tell at that point of time. At that point of time.
Yogesh,
Yeah.
I know it is very early to ask this question.
Yes, no problem.
If we get any project like this, after doing all this calculation, we need to prepare a PPT and we need to demonstrate to the client, or how we need?
100%. You have to. I'll show you one simple presentation also. Simple presentation also once we complete around 4 to 5 algorithms.
Okay.
You should have a slide of 4 to 5 slides, and first slide should tell you what you are going to do, all those things, description, your team members, all those things. Second member should be your business problem and what was your approach for your third problem, this thing, and fourth should be your conclusion part. It should be very simple and short and sweet.
Okay.
That is mandatory. Irrespective of whether you're doing in data science or something else, you should do that. Okay, so this is your data set. So in Monday's session, we are going to implement your multiple linear regression using R, and if time permits, we'll go for Python. I don't think so we'll be trying to complete, because here I'll be showing some additional things in order to do your multiple linear regression. It is not only with respect to only directly building your models. I'll also show you about your multi-collinearity problem. After this multi-collinearity problem, if there is multi-collinearity problem, what is the next step you need to do? And after that, what you need to do in order to remove your variables. I'm going to explain you all these steps. Probably will only complete R coding for multiple linear regression. That might take around 1.5 hours or more than that. So today I'm going to send you some assignments for your simple linear regression. Simple linear regression, I think I've already shared you one data set that is in your SLR file folder called as calories consumed. So you need to compute calories consumed for that. You need to predict your calories consumed based on the you have to predict your weight based on your calories consumed. Okay, along with that, I'm going to share you one more data set to implement your simple linear regression, and I want you all to do simple linear regression using R and Python both. R and Python both. And one day next week, or probably next to next week, I will have 1 hour session for same like yesterday, and I want anyone to explain simple linear regression by sharing their screen. How did they implement that? And one day, on the same day itself, simple linear regression using Python. Somebody needs to explain me each and every line of code by sharing their screen, so that everyone understands in a easier way. Got it? I might choose anyone. Please take it as seriously. Don't take it as, okay, if I'm not doing also, there is no action. See, it is not your school or college to take some actions. Please, you should be having your own interest to do those things. Okay. And I might ask any line of code for somebody else to explain after you share your screens. So please try to implement both R and Python and be ready. Next week or next to next week, we might have 1.5 hours of session. Okay. Thank you all. Good night. Happy weekend.
Good night.
Thanks, Yogesh.
Thank you.
Good night.